The light is good, you can see me. I've been moving the camera around for like 10 minutes, but here we are. Today, I wanted to talk to you about some Guarani music because it's something that I listen to a lot, probably second to Spanish in terms of non-English music, if I'm being honest. And there's a lot to explore, to discover. So I want to share some of that with you today. First up, just in case you don't know, Guarani is a language spoken in Paraguay and parts of South America surrounding Paraguay, and it's an indigenous language to the region. So what's really interesting is that a lot of those stories, well, I'm not going to go into the story, that's not what we're here for. You've probably heard me talk about it before. I'll pop a link up here to the video that does go into the story if you're interested. My first recommendation is Tecové. Tecové are a band that take a lot of kind of classic Paraguayan songs. There's a lot of like classic Paraguayan songs, like folklore-y. They're called Guaranias a lot of the time. There's a lot of like polka as well and a lot of crossover between all of that. But Tecové take a lot of those and just give them like this new level. They do a lot of their own stuff as well, but I'm just never gonna be over. One of the first songs that really got me into Guarani music was Boraihu Asi, which is a cover of a very well-known traditional Paraguayan song and is just so good, so good. So yeah, definitely one to check out. That's where I would start. I also really like the song Cuña Guapa, and this is a great example of what we'll see as we go through this list, Yo Para, which is the kind of blending of Spanish and Guarani. And the reason this is such a good example is the title alone. So Cuña is the Guarani word for woman. Guapa, if you know Spanish, you might know this one. Think, oh, good looking woman, right? What is this song? But Guapa in Guarani also has this meaning obviously coming from there, of like hardworking and strong and fuerte. And so it has this new meaning when it's used alongside a Guarani word like that in Yo Para context. Next up is Owera, who hails from a Guarani Mbaya community south of Sao Paulo. So this is really cool because a lot of what I'm going to suggest is from Paraguay, but this is someone from Brazil. So just to, you know, showcase the spread of this language, that it isn't just locked in to Paraguay, there is a lot beyond those borders. And what I love about Owera is this blend of like you can imagine sort of exactly what he would listen to. There's this real blend of like the hip hop and the rap, but with this kind of like Amazon rainforest soundscape, almost is the best way I could describe it. Just have a listen, see what you think. I think you'll like it. There's some really like the way that Guarani sounds when it's used in music like this, when it's rapped essentially, is really, really cool. So yeah, just have a listen. It's something very different to the last suggestion, and to lots on this list as well, to be fair. I'd recommend starting here with Jaguata Tenonde. Next up then, Tierra Adentro, which, what's really cool, kind of like Tecové, they are really bringing Guarani into modern musical landscape for the region and like combining these sort of historical musical sounds with a modern take on it, which is really cool. But what's especially cool is that Tierra Adentro, they've actually been nominated for Latin Grammy twice. Just waiting for them to win. And then you can also say like, I knew them first when they do win, because they're so good. It's going to happen one day. I would recommend starting here with Aguijé, which incidentally also means thank you in Guarani. So that's a really good one because you'll pick up a very useful word. Ora Sol is my next recommendation, which unlike Tecové, unlike Tierra Adentro, they have a more kind of like swing soul sound in that as well. So there's some Guarani, there's some Spanish, but it's some really good examples of Yo Para throughout their discography, which is pretty cool. Starting point here, I would recommend Desapego. Next up, Tecovete, and no, I'm not repeating myself. The first one was Tecové, this is Tecovete. So slight difference. And of course, here another great example of the blending of Spanish and Guarani, of the languages. The lyrics here are really like full on Yo Para, and also available on Spotify, which some are, some aren't with this list. So that's really cool because you can read along. And like Owera, bringing in some hip hop and some rap influence to everything as well. So really, really cool to listen and to hear that in that context. For your start point here, I would recommend Arriero Machetero. I really love the pacing of this, especially with the flow of the lyrics is really, really cool. Next up is Revolver. So this is something different in terms of music. This is more in the rock vibe of things. There are a handful of rock bands from Paraguay that will combine these little elements, just throw in these little moments of Guarani, whether it's in a title or just one word or a couple of words in a chorus here and there. So I'm including Revolver to kind of represent all of that. So what I would recommend is if you use the radio feature when you open Spotify, go on search Revolver, click the little button and use the radio feature to get more of the same stuff, and that will give you a good idea of what I'm talking about here. As a No Doubt fan, I very much like the ska vibes on Jahapa, so that would be my start point for you here. Enrique Helmers. So although Enrique Helmers mostly sings in Spanish, he does have one basically fully Guarani album, which is called Aguijé. This time it's spelled differently. It's the same word, it's just spelled differently. And if you like Tecové, you're probably gonna like this. There's that kind of very sort of vibe to everything. For your start point here, I would recommend Hetaro Haihundeve, which means I love you very much. I love you a lot. Obviously it's a useful phrase to learn and the song is just really good, which helps. Emiliano A. Fernandez. So Emiliano, by job title, if you like, is much more of a poet than a songwriter or even a musician. In fact, that's why if you were to search just Emiliano R. Fernandez, I think there's like 2 songs on Spotify. But he has written some of those most famous Paraguayan songs that I was talking about. So a lot of those songs that you'll see coming up again and again as covers from other bands, this is the guy that wrote them. 2 of the most common ones that you will see a lot if you look into this are Che La Reina and 13, or 13, however you want to say it, Tuyuti. Kemil Yambay. So Yambay, very much known in Paraguay for the polkas, the guaranias. This is what existed before the likes of Tecové and Tierra Adentro kind of gave it this shift into where we are now in terms of musical history. So Yambay is what came before that. And in fact, the song that I recommended for Tierra Adentro, Aguijé, really name checks Emilio, the last guy that I recommended, and Yambay. So you'll hear that and then you'll be like, oh yeah, insider knowledge, I know that now. My favorite is one with a long title, so you'll have to excuse me for reading this one. De potu riaquanguemi. De potu riaquanguemi. Because I just can't resist a kind of mid-song whoop-hoo, you know, it's got that, which I love. And finally, Francisco Russo. So what I really love about Francisco Russo is the diversity. And of course, I'm very biased here because as soon as I learned that he sings in multiple languages, I'm like, yes, sign me up, tell me more, play me more songs. So that's what I'm talking about when I say diversity. So although he has versions of some of those classic songs like 13 Tuyuti, he also has his own Guaranias and polkas, which is really, really cool to hear. I'm recommending Ñañe Reta Pisiro Jarepe. Did I say it right? Pisiro? Yes. That's the one. Another really long one. But I'm recommending this because it's so lyric heavy. So it's really good if you want to just hear how Guarani sounds and how it sounds in music as well. And there we go. 10 really, really interesting, often quite different musical recommendations. If you're learning Guarani or you're just curious, you want to hear what this language sounds like, what's going on musically in that part of the world, highly recommend them. And if you want to bring music into your language learning and use this as something that makes language learning fun but still functional and still flexible, then what I recommend for you is Music Maestro. So this is my online course all about combining music and languages, really. So you'll learn how to discover, how to consume, and how to create. So they're the 3 sections of the course. By the end of it, you'll have all these ideas of these different ways that you can explore in terms of, you know, really bringing music into your language in a way that works. It isn't just, okay, I'm listening to Bad Bunny, I'll be fluent soon, which is so often the really easy default. So this helps you to go further without just making it boring, because that's the other extreme of that, is that if you think, okay, I'm not just going to listen, I'm going to do something with it, and then it becomes this chore, and that's not fun either. So Music Maestro helps you keep things in that sweet spot in the middle. I will link to the course below in the description, and yeah, that's it. If you have any questions, let me know. As always, do subscribe. It really helps to tell YouTube, oh, people like this, I'm going to show this to more people. And share, tell a friend, comment, like the video, all of those things. And I will see you very soon. Thank you. Bye.